let's extrapolate out 3 to 5 years. Where do you think this lands? So like how much of app spend is going to stay with Apple over a 3 to 5 year period versus eventually move off and diffuse across larger swaths of the ecosystem?
I think a good analogy for publishers to look at web stores is like brick and mortar stores, like retail, look at like creating an e-commerce website for this store. It does not replace the brick and mortar. It's not supposed to replace it. There's no like winner, right? It's not about defeating the other. We don't like here at Upcharge, like we don't hate Apple. We don't think that they're there and they're evil. We think it like they build a great platform and your app is going to have a lot of in-app purchases forever. It's not that you're going to completely transition your purchasing away from your app into a web store. Those two will coexist, and players, when they have more options, we think that the overall pie is going to increase. Like when players have more options, they find it more comfortable to purchase maybe more often. We do think that like in whatever future they end up landing on, it's going to be a future when you operate two stores. Just like in the example I gave before, a retailer has their stores, their brick and mortar stores, and they have the e-commerce website. They don't like offset one another. The one is not trying to beat the other or diminish the other. Having said that, I do think that one big change that we'll see from all of this like turmoil and all of this like legal issues is we're going to see more options that publishers will have to opt in for different payment methods in their in-app. So be that you could have an official iOS app that accepts payments on an alternative payment provider. For example, one of the services that we offer Unity SDK to accept payments in-app. And you're going to see more of that. Moreover, you're going to see alternative app stores, not just the official platform ones, but we already know Epic is working on one. I think Tencent has said that maybe it's working on one. There are more players in the market that will offer competing app stores, and publishers will have more options to choose from. I think a good analogy to where this might land is like the PC market. Like back way then, let's say 10 years ago, it has one monopoly, which was Steam. And then when Epic entered the market, it completely broke and disrupted the commissions. Instead of like the 30% Steam was charging at the time, it was much lower. I think it was like 18, they entered the market. And that just like shifted things around, and exclusivity went out the window. And then like very soon, publishers could publish their game across many platforms. And I think that's a good place to land on, both for Apple and Google. I think that like I'm seeing a lot of like fight back from Apple and Google today. I think that like that maybe that's the optimist in me, but I think like essentially they'll realize that this is overall good for the health of the ecosystem. So when publishers have more options and players have more options, the entire tide rises. So we're going to see, I think that we're going to see, there's probably going to be like some leniency from Apple and Google to allow alternative payment methods. And it's going to be because like regulations and legal have twisted their arm. I mean, that's how they're going to get there. But eventually when they do get there, I do think they're going to see an overall improvement and increase, because it's just going to be more value, more transactions, more options. And I think it overall is going to be beneficial for the entire community and ecosystem.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I love your optimistic take. I tend to be more of a pessimist. I call it realism, but often pessimism. But what you're basically articulating is you think this is a growing pie. The rising tide will raise all boats. I think I tend to agree. We'll get there. Apple and Google will do the right thing when they are forced to do so.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, well, Gil, really enjoyed this conversation so far. I want to wrap it up. Is there anything else that you think I missed that you'd really think is important to articulate before we wrap?
So I'll sign off with like, if you're a publisher out there, there's so many options today. There are vendors and there are ways to do this in-house completely. There are PSPs where you just take the payment process in part. You can build a store on your own if you really want to like handcraft it and have control of all the pixels. And there are vendors who can help you and partners who can help you build a store like Upcharge. There are many ways to get started. It's not like all or nothing. You can just like get started, tap your foot in the water. And I think it will be wise to just like get into the space and try for yourself. Like I said before, if you're not having direct communication with your players, you should seriously consider start working and investing on those channels, because they're going to increase in the importance that they offer as we move on into like how this all unfolds. So the earlier you start, the better. We are talking about loyalty. We are talking about like long-term relationships with your players. So the earlier we start, the better. And if you want to learn more about the space, if you want to like share your thoughts, we're always happy to talk. We're always happy to chat with publishers, either like ones who build stores in-house or ones who want to work with us. We love meeting up in conventions. We'll be at Pocket Gamer Helsinki later this year and Gamescom, or you can shoot us up a message on like upcharge.com, and you can follow our blog. We share a lot of industry-specific stuff. We share a lot of our experience from building and operating these very high-scale stores that you can learn from and then adopt to your own store if that's something that's interesting to you. So head over to our blog where you can learn more about direct-to-consumer and new monetization trends and revenue channels.
Awesome. Well, Gil, thanks for joining us.